So you're getting to the gym, you're staying dedicated, not missing any workouts, you're tracking everything, you're applying progressive overload in all of your workouts. But are you doing these 3 things that could be wrecking your physique? The last thing you want to do is put in all that work only to have yourself end up looking bad. I'm going to outline 3 things today that will really shoot yourself in the foot if you're doing these things. So we're thinking along the lines of building a real solid physique that commands respect right away. Probably one of the things that you're focusing on is bench press, building a good solid chest, which I applaud you for that. However, if you are overdoing bench press and you are wrecking your posture and you're walking around like this, scapular winging, your shoulder blades are popping out of your back, then you have got a serious imbalance and you need to correct that right away. So how do you do this? Go ahead and continue with your bench press workouts, but maybe instead of doing flat bench, incline bench, and decline bench all in the same day, over and over and over, maybe do 2 of those. Cycle one of those out. So stick maybe with bench press for a few weeks and then do decline. Stick with flat bench for a few weeks and then do incline. Then you switch it up and you stick with inclines and do some declines along with it. Something like that. But even more importantly is you have to work the backside of your body. The reason that you get all internally rotated is because you've done all this work pressing, but you haven't done any pulling. Okay, now it's not just a matter of matching your push work with pull work. I hear people talk about that all the time, but the thing is, the lats are also internal rotators. So if you're just doing heavy ass rows, you could be setting yourself up for even worse posture. What you've really got to do is make sure that you're doing things like face pulls and other things for the upper back where you're actually pulling this way, moving the elbows away from each other, pulling them back behind you in order to maintain that balance. Another thing that people neglect severely is external rotation. Rotator cuff work like this is going to pay big dividends to keeping that balance between the front of your torso and the back of your torso in balance and avoiding this terrible posture that I see so many people in. So you got to do whatever you can to even that out. And it's just not as simple as including rows for all of the presses. Next thing that you want to think about is if you're trying to make a visual impact with your physique, then you want to look wide up top. Unfortunately, what a lot of people end up doing is they do a tremendous amount of work for the anterior delts in the front of the shoulder, but they don't do anything for the side delts or the posterior delts. The side delts give you width. The posterior delts create that 3D effect of the shoulders. Now, if you're doing bench press, military press, inclines, declines, you are working your shoulders and your chest, but all of those movements are relying heavily on recruitment from the anterior delts. So you're most likely building those anterior delts really well, but the side delts and posterior delts are not trained to the same degree with those movements. So my suggestion is continue to do your pushing exercises, but then balance out your physique once again with plenty of side lateral work and also posterior deltoid work. So you're going to actually fix a couple of these issues just by including plenty of face pull work and external rotation, as well as abduction, where you're moving the arms apart from one another. You're going to be training your upper back, the back of your shoulders, and the sides of your shoulders. It's going to give you that wider look. You're going to have an upward taper from your waistline up, and you're not going to run the risk of such overuse in the front of the shoulder. Finally, the thing I want to touch on is There is this misconception that if you do abdominal work, it's going to burn fat off of your stomach. And that is not true. You can't spot reduce fat. What you need to do is, sure, do your abdominal work how you like to. You need to build the muscles up so that they can be seen once you're lean enough. But until you are lean enough to see the muscle, you're wasting your time. So you need to take a hard look at your diet. You need to look at the balance of calories in your diet. And you need to find ways that you can trim some of those calories out so that you are at a caloric deficit at least several days a week in order to start burning this fat off, or at least not replacing it. Remember, the majority of the calories that you do not burn off are going to get deposited as fat. For most dudes, that fat is going to end up on your stomach. So we're talking about that cereal you're eating, the bread, the pastas, the beer, other alcohols. All these things are extra calories that you've then got to go back to the gym and burn off with cardio or walking on the treadmill or getting out and doing some road work. And you're just going to find excuses not to do that. So what you need to do, stop shooting yourself in the foot. Take a good hard look at your diet. Be honest with yourself and see where you can start trimming some of these calories out. For me, during the week, I pretty much eliminate completely bread, pasta, potatoes, and all this stuff that is full of starch. And what that does when you do that, or is there are fewer calories coming from carbohydrates that you have to burn off, because if you don't burn those off, they're going to get deposited as fat. So you'll see much better progress around your waistline by trimming that belly fat off, and that's only going to happen if you're at a caloric deficit. I hope these 3 things have helped you. I hope you can turn some things around, and if you do these things, you're going to see a noticeable improvement in your physique. And now is the time. It's summertime. The warm weather's coming. The sun is shining. You're going to be wanting to take your shirt off, show off all the work that you've put in the last year. Let's make the most of it by doing this stuff right. Avoid this forward posture, which can also lead to injuries. Fill out your physique. Make yourself wider up top. Get those 3D shoulders going. And eliminate those excess calories that are going to your belly. And put that time that you're wasting on abdominal work into something else that might be a weakness in your body. All right, all the best in your training, everybody. Give it one of these. Be sure to subscribe. Any questions, leave them in the comment section below. Take care.